Good morning, big backyard fans. Today we're going to be working in my front yard. Recently I took apart this front flower bed and then I split up all of the Siberian iris that I had here, and there was a ton of it, and I'll put a picture on the screen of what the flower bed looked like before. And I divided everything up and I cleaned up this whole back flower bed. But as you can see, it was looking kind of bare. I've got a peony on that end. I have spread out the Siberian iris, and in the back, planted where you can't see it except for in this one little spot right here, I have Crocosmia growing. Well, I have to put something more in the front. As you see, what's really occupying the front here is weeds. And I really just don't want just a flower bed full of weeds. So yesterday I went down to the garden center and they had the Adjuga on sale. So I bought 3, maybe 4 different varieties of Adjuga. And Adjuga is a ground cover with little purple flowers. I think I have one that sort of has a picture. Yeah, there's a picture of this one available. This is called Bronze Beauty, but that's the kind of flowers that all of these will have. Adjuga is also known as bugleweed. So I have all these different leaf types, but essentially the same flowers. And I'm going to plant these all in here today. And also, I thought I would put some in the ground here under this beech tree. That'll be nice. It'll spread out into the yard. I've seen other places where Adjuga just kind of like spreads itself out and takes over, and really it'll look pretty naturalizing into the yard. And also, where I took apart my front flower bed completely, I ripped every single thing in here out, and the only things that are still here are some random bulbs that you can see on the surface of the ground, like right there and there. I might pick those up and get rid of them. This little piece of iris somehow remains there and sprouted, and I'm gonna go ahead and plant the Adjuga around here. Now, I did plant in here a peony right here that I was given, and I planted something else and I honestly don't remember what it is. Ugh. Love when that happens. No idea what I planted there, but it's gonna grow and surprise me this coming year. We'll assume that. Now, of course, I'm not gonna make a video of me planting all this. There's nobody who's gonna stand here and hold the camera. But what's gonna happen is I'm gonna plant all of these things in the ground, get them cleaned up. I'm also gonna plant this chunk of peony that I was given yesterday. I'm not sure where I'm gonna put that. It's probably gonna go out back somewhere in the other garden, because I already have this peony here and another chunk of peony, which, believe it or not, has been buried right here next to the steps. Actually, see that little red spot? That's the peony. So now that I have peonies on both ends here, I don't really need another one. So I'll put that somewhere else. Anyway, I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's all done. Bye-bye now. All right, well, as I was going through my plants and planting this section here, I noticed something, and I was going through something, and I thought it was important that I show you this. You see a can like this of a plant. This is a Adjuga chocolate chip. And you think, oh, I've got a plant here. I'm gonna dig a hole and plant a plant. But especially with something like this, a creeping, ground cover. Oh, let me get, they spread. These things are huge spreaders. If you look at this plant here, and especially we look down here in the middle, this is a lot of plants. This isn't one plant. And so this pot here can be divided into multiple other plants. So every dollar I spent on plants really becomes a better bargain, basically. This one here, I'm likely to get probably only 2 out of a can like this. This will definitely make 3, maybe 4. I split another can like that one there earlier, and I got like 6 plants easily out of it. If I had wanted to be really picky, I would have gotten like 8, but I like to leave them in at least small clumps. These spread really nicely, and you'd be wasting your time if you just dump it all in one hole. Just be sure that you leave your pieces with some roots attached, and don't be too violent when you're taking them apart. You can cut it apart. I mean, you're never going to be able to know exactly what roots went with exactly which piece. But as long as you leave some attached to each base, you're going to be fine. These types of plants will recover really easy from that kind of mistreatment. So I'm going to split this one up right here. I'm going to try to do that right in front of you so that you can see exactly how that goes. Let me set up my little tripod deal. Can I see my plant? I can see my plant. So let's try to not be in my own shadow. Alright, so you have a plant like this. It's obviously going to be harder to cut it on this side with all the roots. Sometimes the roots are wrapped completely around it super tightly, and then you just drive right through them. In this case, it's not very rooted on this side, so I'm actually just going to break this apart. This is easy peasy. Here's one plant. That's good. I'm definitely going to get another 3 out of this, I think, this time. There, I'm going to plant these 3 clumps here, but as you can see, if I wanted to, I could divide this again into 3 plants. I could divide this into 2. I may still divide it and get a 4th plant out of it, but you get my point. This is like bonus material. This stuff spreads. The best option is to divide it as much as you can. Anyway, I'll show you what I've got at the end of this project now. Okay, well, I'm all done transplanting things, and I'll show you what I have here in my gardens. I had to wait till this garden was completely in the shade because earlier the sun was going right through the middle of it, and it would have been impossible to see in the changing light. It'll be bad enough now in the shade. Anyway, I have 4 different kinds of Adjuga, as I showed you earlier, and I've basically placed them sporadically throughout the front half of this garden bed, hoping that they fill in where the other plants are not. Also, I left in some things that I had before. I have some ice plant in random places, which, as you can see, has a purple flower, and I have these little pieces of, I think it's lemon coral sedum. And believe it or not, all those little pieces of sedum that I rescued will sprout out. And I think that that bright green chartreuse will be a good contrast with these dark colors of the Adjuga. For instance, this Adjuga, which is, I think, called like Black Curls or something. I forget what it's called. I'll put it up on the screen. But this Adjuga is so dark. All of these Adjugas actually are very dark in color. And that's going to look great in here, but the chartreuse will be a great contrast with that later on. So as you can see, I got quite a few plants once I divided everything up. So here's an echinacea that I just planted in here earlier this year. And then, of course, some more places where I transplanted and moved this Adjuga. So hopefully in the spring this looks great and we can see exactly how it fills in the space, and hopefully it spreads out eventually to the point that it keeps back the weeds, because I just don't have the patience to sit here and weed out all of the weeds here. I have chickweed is ground cover. It might not be the ground cover I want, but it's ground cover. Anything but crabgrass is okay with me. So now we're going to walk around here. We'll walk down to the next place that I put things. this was probably the messiest area I had right here underneath this beech tree. So the mound of soil here, I went ahead and planted quite a bit of Adjuga here after cleaning out all the dead grasses and things. And I saw something crawl into a hole over here, so I'm gonna go into what it was. Ooh, a spider. Do you see him? Check him out. Hey, little spider. I don't think that you get a very good view of him from here, but he's going to be happily living here with my Adjuga, and that's fine with me. There are also bulbs in here at some point. I don't know exactly what's going to come up here in the spring, but I'll find out. And finally, the last place that I originally intended to plant some of this, around the mailbox. So here you can see that I got quite a bit of plants in here around the mailbox, which is good. The other things that are in here are, I moved my tiny piece of iris to right here just to see what would happen. This is a peony that was given to me this year, and so that should come up and fill in a large space. But other than that, and some spare bulbs that I probably just didn't get dug out here, those are the things that are going to grow here around the mailbox in the future. And lucky for me, because of splitting everything up, I had so many plants that I was actually able to move some to the backyard. So let's head back here to the backyard and I'll show you what I did with all of the rest of my Adjuga. I love this time of year when everything starts to change color, but it's still really, really warm. Of course, it also means that I should do some work, like trim these things up. Most likely I'm lazy and I'm not going to too much. So right here I put a piece in the front. There I put some right here. And then sporadically I added some Adjuga, mostly near the edge of the flower bed. And this is because I want it to spread out and maybe even encroach into the grass. The plan is that the edge of this is going to get taken over by ground cover. And then when I mow past here, it won't matter that there's no defined edge. I'll just measure around the edge of the ground cover and it'll blend seamlessly, I hope, into the garden itself. The roughly Adjuga, I actually planted bunches of it right through here. You can sort of see it. Really, I recognize that these are very dark colored plants and I'm trying to show you them on this dark colored wood chip, and there's not a whole lot to see, but there's a little piece right there, some there. And I pretty much stopped here with the Adjuga on this flower bed. I didn't go to the back at all because I decided that I wanted to go over here and plant the rest under the willow tree. Because the willow tree also has a tendency to get things growing in it, like weeds and baby trees. All sorts of stuff tries to grow up in this circle of mulch. So I planted the rest of the Adjuga in here around the willow tree. There's bulbs and stuff in here too, but I think all of this in the long run is going to look really nice. That is my hope. So here's a quick view of my whole backyard. I sure am glad I planted all those marigolds. They look fantastic in my vegetable garden. So my backyard as it stands, October 15th of this year. Look at that cosmos. It's just one clump of cosmos right there and it's gorgeous. And of course the zinnias. But man, these are just beautiful cosmos. Well, next year I'm hoping to have a lot more cosmos and zinnia this time of year in the flower garden. Anyway, so that's it for the work I've done in my backyard today and my ground cover adventures really in my front yard. So I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their October. Bye.